Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we're here to open your mind. We are living the good life right here on WBOK 1230 AM. We are opening minds to living differently in the world with love, tolerance, compassion, and understanding for ourselves and hopefully everyone else. We do that right here weekdays at 11 a.m. Make sure you tune in. You never, ever, ever, ever have to miss a show. Why? Because we are online and everywhere you want to be. Our website is up. It has blown up. And we want to make sure that you are a part of this this movement that we have grown right here on the Good Life Radio Show. So I need you right now to go to www.tglradioshow.com if you are at your desk and you want to see what's going live in the studio, if you want to ever check out a show that you missed. And what I've actually done is broken it down into segments because some people find it hard to sit down and read the whole show. Some people actually work out to the entire show. So it kind of just depends on how you want it. I'm going to give it to you as a full show and then I'll break it down into segments. So if you had a friend or a guest or you were a guest or anything like that, you can make sure you are able to go back and see it then. It's a good life. We want you to be a part of it. You can find out about our co-host there. You can also, purchase our t-shirts and our aprons. It is the good life, y'all. You go choose a theme or a logo and you can put it on whatever that you choose. And what's funny about that, or not funny because there are no coincidences, is this week is about ask, or I should not say ask, believe. I don't even know what the week is about. And I say that because one of them is ask, believe, receive, and it is one of the themes and mantras of my life that I constantly have to remind myself to believe. Even sometimes I'm like, I just can't see how this is going to happen, Lord. I just don't understand. He didn't ask me to know how. He didn't ask me to understand how. Why? He didn't even, he's like, that's not your issue. I need you to believe, I need you to have faith and ask for it, and I will grant it. Because it never happens the way that you think it's going to happen. It's going to go up and down and here and there, and he asks us to believe. So that is the topic of this week. I'm really excited because I have none other than my partner, Dr. Tammy Wilborn, in the studio with me today. Good morning, Dr. Wilborn. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Eileen.
I would love for you to take a moment and tell everyone how they can contact you, because I get emails underneath your post and underneath our videos. People want to know how they can contact you. So if somebody is out there right now and they are interested in counseling, or they're interested in seeking, how do I begin the process? How can they contact you?
Yes, so Wilborn Clinical Services, there's a couple of different ways. You can certainly give me a call at 504-509-3995. That's 504-509-3995. Or you can email me at info@Wilborn Clinical Services. Again, that's info@WilbornClinicalServices.com. And then lastly, you can find me on Facebook, Wilborn Clinical Services on Facebook.
So she is everywhere that you want to be, so make sure you join the good life in every way possible. We also have one of the ladies, we have Evangelist Paula Gillard of Women of Power, Praise, and Worship Ministry. They will be here for the second segment, so please make sure that you stay tuned. This has kind of been the month of the women, and Lee is like, is this the week of the women? Because all of my guests this week have been women so far. I don't know, Lee. I know we have a lot of stuff coming up this week, so make sure you tune in for the entire show today. But with regard to believing, I want to just touch this before we, get into the entirety of the show while I have Dr. Wilborn in her hot seat, because I love asking these questions. So many times we believe what we believe because it's what we want to believe. And and we create more of what we believe because we seek those things to validate our beliefs, rather than believing the apple that sits in front of us. And for all of you, why I use the example Apple, for all of you who have watched CNN, who've seen the Apple commercials, if not, I will put one up right after the show. They're like, this is an apple. The right can tell you it's a banana. The left can tell you it's a banana. But it is an apple. Facts are facts. And we are entitled to our own belief systems, but we are not entitled to our own facts. And too often our beliefs and our facts are getting intertwined, and we make them fact because we believe it, and then we try to go find facts to match our beliefs. But it doesn't really work that way. Or does it work that way? Or why do we do it? Or do we just, get caught in our own belief system that we can't even see the forest for the trees?
Yeah, well.
I know I gave you a lot.
Yeah, but that's okay.
That's what I do. Throw it at her.
That's okay. Clients do the same thing. So my goal is just to follow it and figure out where I land. I think it's complicated for a number of different reasons, but I think, a lot of people tend to get caught up in their truth. I'm getting ready to go there. So one thing one thing I know about myself, I'm a principle person. And so there's certain truths that I have, certain principles that I have that operate for me as truths. And one of the principles that I sort of have come to regard is this notion of sort of big T, little t truth. And so I think a lot of times what people believe is that their truth is a big T truth that everyone must sort of operate from. And if you don't subscribe or operate from that big T truth, then something's wrong with you, or that's not real, or there's something flawed in your logic and the way that you think. And I think the probably the balance of that is understanding that there are very few big T truths, that most of us operate from a space of little T truths. In other words, what you believe is based off of who you are, what you've been taught, what your experiences are. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true for everybody. It may just be true for you. And so I think we have to, I think we spend a lot of time trying to impose our truth as big T truth on other people. And when we do that, we lose. I think we all lose.
You said something so huge there for me, that we take something that may be a truth for us and automatically apply that to other people as if it's supposed to fit them.
Yes.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Because that's not their truth. It's not who they are. It's not their experience. But no, it's my truth, so it must be yours. It has to be yours. I can't get out because I'm just like, why do we do that? Or is it a fear of not being right, or being exposed, or being vulnerable? Because why can't I have my truth and you have your truth, and me be okay with you having your truth that is different than mine?
Yeah.
Why does my belief system have to overpower you to the point that somebody else has to be wrong? We can both be right.
We can.
Because this can be right for me and that can be right for you, and it's okay. We just leave it where it is.
I mean, to me, it feels like at the underpinning of a lot of why people aren't able to accept other people's truths as little T truths and their own truth as little T truths is really fear. I mean, I think at the heart of a lot of it is just fear that I could be wrong, fear that what I learned was incorrect, fear that if I believe this certain thing that I have to deny something else. And so a lot of times I feel like it's fear and really fear of what's on the other side. So if I let go, one of the things that I always tell people in terms of change is that in order for people to make change, they have to be willing to risk the fear of going on the other side. A lot of times that keep people from moving to the other side of change or whatever that is the fear of the unknown, right? Because the unknown is the abyss. But what you do know is what you've been taught, what you've learned. And so it's much easier to hold on to those beliefs because you know that. It's much more riskier and therefore much more scarier to let go of something that has been your truth for so long in search of something that you don't know.
So is that where cognitive dissonance comes in?
For some people, yes.
Can you explain that?
Well, cognitive dissonance is this notion that there is sort of a incongruence between what you believe and maybe what you see, or what you believe and maybe some new information. So you might believe, you might have been taught that to view certain people in a certain way, right? Let's just go there. But then in your own experience, you may experience those same individuals as whatever, loving, kind, whatever. And so now you have some cognitive dissonance because what you originally thought doesn't line up with what your experience is.
Right.
And so that's part of the dissonance. The dissonance is there's a disruption between what you previously thought with what you know now, what you're experiencing now.
And I bring up that point because we last Tuesday, and if you did not listen to the show, you can go on tglradioshow.com and listen to it. It was asked about Relationship Tuesday, and we were asking questions that were difficult. And we had Mikola, who was on last Tuesday with regard to the Black Heritage and Jazz New Orleans tour. For reservations, you can go on allaboutthat.com. And so she was offering a tour last Friday, and of course it was during the hours of the show, so I couldn't go. But Dr. Tammy Wilborn went, and so I'd love for her to tell us about your experience with the tour.
Well, I mean, just to try to make that connection, I think part of what came out of the conversation last week is this discussion about the fact that most people don't really know about slavery. Mm-hmm. Most people don't really know about the impact of slavery and the continuous ongoing residual effect of slavery. And so there's a lot of people, I think, in contemporary sort of times that believes that slavery is a thing of the past and it's not something that's currently affecting people today. And holding on to that belief is helpful to those individuals who believe that, because they haven't really learned about the ways in which slavery really was exercised as a sexual and labor exploitation of a group of individuals that we continue to be impacted by. So talking about the tour then, what was interesting about that experience, first of all, is having a bit of dissonance about how much New Orleans played a part in the slave trade and how intricately linked our history and our current experiences are to that experience. And it was just really...
Because who wants to believe that?
Right.
I don't want to believe that. We weren't tied to slavery.
Yeah.
Yes, we were.
Yes, absolutely. And it was heartbreaking, I think. I mean, I had done a lot of research as part of my doctoral experience. I had to look into the experiences of enslaved Black women during that period to understand our experiences as workers now. And so some of that history I knew because of my own research. But to walk the sacred grounds of Congo Square, to look at actual sites of slave auctions and, sites of where enslaved individuals die. At the St. Augustine Church right outside, there's this, I don't know how you would describe this structure, but it looked like a cross, and I think it was the mark of the... I don't want to say it wrong, but essentially it was a site of where enslaved individuals were shackled, and so there were shackles on this particular structure, and in the tree there was a chain that was connected to the tree where individuals that were enslaved were. To this day, still there.
Wow.
And there was just something very profound about walking that experience, walking on the sacred grounds in Congo Square and looking in and taking in the sites of oppression and death for our people. And then really grappling with the fact that in a lot of ways, maybe our lived experience doesn't look like that. But in a lot of ways, we are still enslaved in a lot of different ways in our various institutions. And so I think I think it's just hard to really know what really happened. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people from really digging and excavating, if I can use that term, excavating the history of slavery, because it is horrendous to know that what we've been told a lot about it doesn't even touch the surface of what it really, really looked like. That for a lot of people it's been convenient to believe that slavery was just this thing of the past and it wasn't that bad. It was horrendous. It was a horrendous institution that we still are impacted by today. So I would encourage anybody to take that tour, all about that tour. Mikola did a wonderful job narrating that history. And even though she is someone who identifies as Afropean, she seems to have really immersed herself in trying to understand that history and really bring it together very nicely in the tour.
Well, I am so excited that you were able to go. I'm not supposed to be jealous, but there was a tinge of it. There was a tinge of it when I saw your pictures. I was like, oh, I want to go. But of course, it was at 10:00, and
yes,
I would not have been able to do it. And I already had a guest scheduled. But I'm glad that you were, and you can go on allaboutthattours.com .com, ALLBOUTDAT.com, again, and Mikala. We're going to take a quick break. We have the Women of Power, Praise, and Worship Ministry on the other side of the glass. And what they have been doing is really near and dear to my heart. And I know near and dear to Dr. Wilborn's heart as well. Before we go out, I'm telling you why it's near and dear to Dr. Wilborn's heart. Because she has a special event that is taking place in January. But today is the last day for early bird tickets, correct?
Yes, correct.
So we want to make sure we get that information out. Tell us how they can get those last day early bird tickets. Y'all can play around if you want to. Go ahead.
Yes, so the second annual Black Women's Wellness Conference early registration ends today at 11:30 p.m. You can register at www.bwwc18.eventbrite.com.
Oh, and one more thing. I know she thought that I was going to forget, but today is my sister's birthday. Tara Hernandez. So everybody in the city who knows her, she's going to kill me, but I really don't care. I absolutely adore her. We're 12 years apart, and when I was little, I would go run in her room when I get in trouble, and she hide me and take care of me. She's always been there for me, and she I'm sure will always be for the rest of my life. But please call her, blow up her Facebook, whatever you need to do. Today is Tara Hernandez's birthday. Happy birthday, happy Halloween. She's gonna kill me, but I love you. I told you I was going to do it. She didn't believe me. Lee, she said she was even going to call you and tell you to cut my mic. But it's not happening. Today is Tara Hernandez's birthday, and I want to wish her a wonderful birthday. I absolutely love you. Happy birthday, Tara. Told you I was going to do it.
I said birthdays are so special, and it's on Halloween.
Yes. We're going to have our guests come into the studio. We have Miss Evangelist Paula Gillard. This will be an interesting conversation. I told her, I said, we are reality radio. Yeah. It goes where it goes. There's not bullet points and things like that. Good morning. How are you? I'm glad you're in the studio with us. And I'm just excited we're having these conversations, the needs of, I don't know what's going on, but I knew there was a shift, and I knew that there was going to be the year of the woman coming up. They actually had been saying that since last year. And, you didn't really know how it was going to take place, in my opinion. I didn't know if, women were going to be taking care, going to be over industries, but we did. We had, what was the lady who's now head of, there's some large corporation. And it was blasted all over social media. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's nice. Oh, we have a family text going on. They texted me on my phone, y'all. Sorry, I'm looking at it to see what they're talking about. But she's the head of one of the larger corporations, and just with the push of the Me Too, and I'll get into a little bit of that when we come on air. The Me Too hashtag that was started a while ago, and I understand that it was started a while ago, and I get that, but timing is everything. And so I can't take away that she brought it back around, because if not, it would not have had this much exposure. So I want to thank both of the ladies for encouraging the Me Too hashtag, and with that allowing so many men and women, or women and men, to be able to, feel that they're not alone. And so the importance of that can never be minimized, because when you're in those situations, you feel like you're alone, and
yes.
You're the only one going through it. So, there's just been so many things with regard to this movement, and it's not just, women. And then even with the election, a lot of the women, coming together, and then just so many different aspects. So you just see there's a huge shift.
Yes.
And so I'm just proud to be a part of it, and I know Tammy is, and I'm proud that you all are here as well. So
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if we heal women, I think we can heal communities. I mean, I can't say that enough. When we heal women, we heal communities. Women birth communities. We raise communities. We are the backbone and foundation. And unfortunately, that role that we've been placed in takes a toll on us. And I think, recognizing that, even though we are the foundation. Our foundation is shaky right now.
Yeah.
Women are not well.
Right.
We are not, because we've taken on so many of these roles, and so we have to reclaim. I love this idea of our
We're about to go on there. I'm gonna have you. You have to repeat
remember.
that. Yes, she is, because I'm going to lead her into it.
I'm not gonna remember.
That's what I do. And it is live, so I'll flip it back and forth. You won't know, but when I tap it, it'll be facing you when you're speaking. So. We're gonna have a fun it'll be a fun it'll be a needed conversation. It will be a needed conversation.
Gillard?
Oh wait,
Gillard.
I'm gonna steal this, but I'll move it back. I promise.
Oh, no.
We're about to go live. Hey Pierre, I see you over there. Good morning, and welcome to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we're here to open your mind. We are living the good life right here on WBOK 1230 AM. We are opening minds to living differently in the world with love, tolerance, compassion, and understanding for ourselves and hopefully everyone else. We do that right here weekdays at 11 a.m. Make sure you tune in. You never have to miss a show. Why? Because we are online, y'all. TGLradioshow.com, TGLradioshow.com. Do me a favor and follow us on all of our social media platforms. That is at TGL Radio Show, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube, y'all. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the entire world. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is TGL Radio Show, TGL Radio Show. Y'all, this week is about believing. We had an amazing intro to this conversation with Dr. Tammy Wilborn. And you know she's been my partner on the show for a little while. And y'all know how the women's ministry for us and the empowerment is so important. And I don't want the guys to turn their ears to this conversation. That's why I really wanted to say that initially, because women's issues are families' issues, and men's issues are families' issues. So when when they're on the air, and we have Dr. Corprew on Tuesdays, later on Wednesdays, having those conversations, the ladies need to tune in because they need to understand what their guys are going through. And when we're having women conversations, we need to make sure that the guys are here too, listening, so we can make sure that everybody understands what's going on in the family. These are, we may be geared toward one gender, but it really is family conversation. So I did want to say that. I don't want you to turn your ear. And I'm really excited about our guests. Of course, we do have Dr. Tammy Wilborn in the studio with us, but we also have Evangelist Paula Gillard. She is with the Women of Power, Praise, and Worship Ministry. And I love their mantra. It's written right there on their card, to know your worth. Philippians 4:13, know your worth. And I'll be very honest with you. It's one of the things that I had struggled with, knowing my worth. So knowing that there are organizations out there who are helping women, really understand their worth. And it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to feel it. And so Dr. Wilborn was saying something, during the break, and I'm going to reel her back into that before we really get into Evangelist Paula. Did you want me to give your full name or just Evangelist Paula? It's okay. Before Evangelist Paula takes it away, because Women in Power and Praise has been here since 1999, and we want you to be here forevermore. So, Dr. Wilborn, you were telling us the importance of empowering the women during the break. Can you kind of lead us into what you were saying?
Yeah, I think basically what I was saying is when women are healed, communities are healed, or when women are well, yes, the community is well. And part of the notion for that, to for me, kind of goes back to what you were just saying, is that this isn't just about if black women or women in general are well, men can't be well, or we don't care about it, but rather understanding that if I can be well for myself, I can be well and healthy in relationship to you.
Yes.
I can be well and healthy in relationship to other people and the other relationships that I have. So this is not about discriminating against others
Right.
insofar as wellness, but recognizing that our wellness is interdependent.
Yes. Yes. All right, thank you, Dr. Wilborn. Okay, I'm gonna flip it to Evangelist Paula. Can you give us information of just what Women of Power and Praise is and how it got started?
Actually, the ministry started before 1999.
Did it?
It was put into the hands of myself in 1999.
Oh, gotcha.
Another young lady had it, and unfortunately, she was trying to do what we're attempting to accomplish now, and unfortunately she fell into the trap and she walked away. But God saw fit to allow me to be able to bring it to fruition. We're into our third, as they say, 3 is a charm. We've started and then kind of dwindled and then started and kind of dwindled, and I said, okay, 3 is a charm, guys. We're going forth with this. And but it is to let individuals know that they have the power. That's why it's the Women of Power, Praise, and Worship. The power is within. And anything that you're going through, if you just praise your way through it, you're coming out of it. And you have to worship, because God is the only one who can free us. You know, he's the only one who can heal us. Me, myself, as I can say, a me too, went through domestic violence of marriage of 25 years. And out of 25 years, I was mentally, physically, and emotionally abused. And I can honestly say the last 3 years before the passing of my husband were the only good years. So out of that, you know, I was at that point attempting to help heal other women, hoping that would help me in some kind of way. But through my hurt, through the power that was within me, I didn't even realize then that I was able to help heal other women through the word of God. That's why we stand on Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. And from that point up until now, I'm just learning that my healing is within. So I'm going full force to let everybody know that me too have a voice, that me too can make this work, and that the Women of Power, Praise, and Worship, there's power within. You have to know your worth. If you don't know your worth, then you're worthless. And people do to you what you allow them to do to you. And it took me all of these years to get to that point in my life. People will do to you what you allow them to do to you. We can point our fingers, but we have other fingers pointed back at us for a reason, because it's us. We are allowing this.
You brought up a conversation that I did not know we were gonna talk about, but before the show I said this is reality radio for us. Not have talking points. It goes the way the conversation goes, and you brought up something that is near and dear to my heart, because it's something I'm dealing with, and it's something you dealt with, and so I know it's something a lot of women go through. When we break up, and it may be an ex that still has some type of emotional pull on you, and you know, this isn't a negative nod to the guys, but when you're in a situation where you may have a child with them, and so you can't really get away as much as you want to get away. Like, y'all know you want to get away, but you can't get away. And it may be for both persons, but we're speaking of it from the woman's point of view today, because it is a worship, a Woman of Power ministry. That's just the nature of the conversation. So guys, we're not whatever. It's just the nature of the conversation today. But how, and for both of you, Dr. Wilborn and Evangelist Paula, how do we work that out as women? Because, you know, I've had the tug of, you're like, oh, you want to be done with them, but obviously they're the child's father, and you want them to be a part of their life. The separating yourselves from them having power over you, but I had to realize that I was allowing it. And in creating boundaries of just the child and not me. Like, this is my box, and not feeling guilty for doing that. And you're nodding your head, so I know that you have ladies who are, I'm going to let you go first. You have ladies who are in this, and it's a comfortable situation, because you want your child, you want the relationship there, but you're like, but not me.
Exactly. What I find is that most women lose themselves into their children and into a man, their relationship, whomever their partner may be. They forget about who they are. And that's why we have such a pull when it comes down to allowing the individual, such as an ex or someone who has hurt us in a certain way, for us to be able to back away from them completely, because we don't know who we are. Because once you find out that the power that's within you, when you know your power, you know your worth, you can look at that individual and they can sit right there next to you and they could be yapping, and you just in a whole nother world because you're in your box. As you say, you're in your box. When they step into your box, you'll know how to say, okay, well, guess what? If that's how you want to do things, that's how you do things. But I'm going to do things this way, and that's how it's going to be. But we have a tendency of compromising, especially when it comes down to children. Throughout my life, and I love to give my testimony, I have lost myself in my family, in my husband, in my children, and then into my grandchildren. Well, now I have become that grandmother, as they say, mama, I don't babysit unless I want to.
Yes.
I had become that individual being married. When I needed my space, I would call my mom. She was the only person that knew where I was. I said, okay, I'm going to get me a hotel room for the weekend. And I would take me a Bible, some fruit, some water, and maybe a Yahtzee game if that's what I felt like playing on the side. And I would just close myself up, and I would leave my husband with the children and say, okay, you handle the situation, because I had to find me. You know, I had to find me. And in his passing, I can honestly tell you, I realized that the power that's within, you know, the power is right there. You just have to dig deep within. When you look in the mirror in the morning, you have to let yourself know that you love yourself. It doesn't matter what you've gone through, what you're going through now, what you're going to go through. Once you learn that you have to have that inner man, you have to love that inner person. You have to look at, it doesn't matter if you have a big nose, skinny nose, long hair, short hair, all that can be changed. But you have to love yourself for who you are.
Dr. Wilborn.
First of all, always appreciative when folks are willing to be transparent and use their stories as teaching tools. And so thank you so much for teaching us with your story. And I mean, there's so much of what you said that I want to co-sign, and there's so much of what you said that I want to sort of extend and have us to think about it in some different ways. And so I think particularly when you're talking about domestic violence, for example, sometimes that ability to have that power, see that power within, is hidden because of the messages that abuse communicates to you about you, right? And so the ability to see yourself as worthy is not always evident when somebody is using power and control to tell you that you're not worthy. And so a lot of,
or that you're not a good mother.
All of that, all of those are tools of, you know, so
because I, just from the point of view we're speaking of today, that's the one that gets mothers the most.
Yeah.
And everybody's nodding their head in here. That's the one that gets mothers the most.
Well, and I want to talk about that. I mean, because that's a tool of control and abuse. As I was looking at, you know, kind of going back over my thoughts about, you know, what are some of those signs of power and control. And one tool of power and control is using the children, right? So using the child to create an avenue to get to the other person as a way of control, or emotional put downs, or, you know, saying things like you're not a good mother, or speaking against you as a parent. All of that's about power and control. And so I want to be careful in terms of recognizing that. I think it's very true that how we treat ourselves in a lot of ways communicates how other people, how they can treat us. But I also want to make sure that we recognize that abuse is the issue of the abuser. Yeah. It is not the issue of the person that's being abused. And so if somebody is abusing a person, that's not their fault. That's the person who has the issue of the power and control. But I do think that it's important to look at, what is it about me? What am I bringing to this relationship insofar as, do I have poor, you know, am I not? I love how you all talk about, Evangelist Gillard, about teaching women to be strong self-advocates. Am I a self-advocate for myself, setting boundaries? Am I an advocate for myself in terms of recognizing, you know, where I start, where I end, and not letting people enter into my life and you know, missing red flags that might potentially be signs that this person could be abusive. So it's complicated, and I think we have to be clear about, you know, knowing yourself and looking at how you communicate to other people who you are, and also want to make the distinction that if somebody's abusing you, that's their problem,
Right.
And we have to hold abusers accountable for the things that they're doing.
Yes. And we need to, both sides of the gender spectrum need to listen to this conversation, because they could, I don't want to say that they don't realize that, that they are being abusive and controlling, but I just want this, or I just want that. But you are. And it's overstepping boundaries. Either way, whether it be the woman or the man, you're overstepping boundaries. And so we need to maintain our boundaries for our own health. And so we're going to take a quick break, because Lee is making me take a break. And when we come back, we're going to speak to Evangelist Paula Gillard and Dr. Tammy Wilborn regarding how do we take our power back? How do we find it inside ourselves when we find ourselves in these situations, and how can women who want to join the Women of Power, Praise, and Worship Ministry, how can they reach out to you and do that? So we're going to take a quick break. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we will be right back.
Somebody's telling you you're not being a good, that's a form of emotional abuse. It's abuse. That's what it is. It's abuse. And unfortunately, I think particularly when we're talking about domestic violence, a lot of times we forget about children as the forgotten victims. Children are often the forgotten victims in domestic violence situations.
Yes.
Often. Either because they're either experiencing it directly or indirectly, but they are often the victims of it, and we forget that.
Yes.
My oldest son asked me actually after his father passed, he said, "Mom, why did you stay so long?" He said, "I left at 18 because I couldn't take it." He said, "I don't understand." You think you're doing the kids justice by staying there, because that's how I was raised. You don't get a divorce. You don't, do this, that, or the other. But the divorce was so real. My dad just found out. My husband been deceased since 2006. My dad just found out maybe about 6 months ago everything that I went through.
Wow.
Because I hid it so well.
Right. No.
And we have to be more open.
Yes.
We have to, it's a shame because so many women are dying at the hands of men. But you can't have that fear. You have to walk bold. And you have to know that it's within you. I mean, that power, and the only way you can get that power back is that you have to start thinking positive and speaking positive and going around positiveness, because as long as you're around that negativeness, it's going to just weigh you down. And everybody, I tell my girls all the time, everybody's not your friend. You have associates.
Oh, hello.
Everybody's not your friends. You have associates. And I tell that to my grandkids now.
Yes.
You have associates. Don't come tell me this one is your friend and that one is your friend. Because friends don't like to see you fall.
Right.
They try to help you grow and to build and to get you on your feet.
Right. Absolutely.
And speaking to that point about, the point you were saying about women and women dying, there's a startling statistic that I discovered in my research about domestic violence, is that Louisiana ranks 3rd in the nation for female victims murdered by males in single victim or single offender incidents. We are 3rd in the nation for women that are being murdered.
I want you to repeat that on air.
I absolutely will. Behind Alaska and Nevada.
Wow.
We are 3rd, and we were actually 2nd for a long time. So while there's a dip, we're still in the top 10, and that's concerning. And most of these
we're at the bottom of everything else. I'd rather be at the bottom of that, right?
Besides that, and incarceration, we're leading. But and black females actually are disproportionately affected in these rankings. That black women are murdered at twice the rate of white females. So we have a public health crisis. I mean, this isn't just, and part of what you said I think is so important. A lot of it goes back to, people say, well, why do women stay? Really, the more important question is, why does a batter or abuse, right? Like, that's the question we should be asking. But there's a number of reasons why people stay. I grew up in a home. My mother stayed because she loved her husband. My mother stayed because she wanted us to have a good family.
she left because she knew neither of those were going to be, that our relationships were not going to be healthy if she stayed. It's so complicated.
Yeah, and there's not one template that you can place. Everybody has a different situation, and you have to.
Yeah, and it's easy to look at
Trust
those women as those women, but I went to a training on domestic violence to be a trainer, and they said, I am her, she is me. I think a lot of times we don't realize any of us could easily be that woman.
Right.
And just like you say, we don't choose, and when you are the object of someone else, how do you go turn them off? Mm-hmm. When you're the object, you're like, I don't want the attention. Yeah. Let me know what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, you definitely don't want to be abused, right? Like, that's definitely not what you want. Exactly. Let me be clear. I don't want to be abused.
Exactly. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to The Good Life with me, Eileen. We are here on Relationship Tuesday, and we're here to open your mind. We are living the good life right here on WBOK 1230 AM. We are opening minds to living differently in the world with love, tolerance, compassion, and understanding for ourselves and everyone else. We do that right here weekdays at 11 a.m. Make sure you tune in. You can always go online at tglradioshow.com. If you ever missed a show, you can go online right there to catch up. I want to jump back in the conversation because it was continuing during the break, and if you want to see what was going on, like I said, go tglradioshow.com after the show. But we are here with Evangelist Paula Gillard of Women of Power, Praise, and Worship Ministry. We're also here with one of my regular and favorite co-hosts. I'm going to say that because you're only one here, Dr. Tammy Wilborn. But we are here having, a real conversation about women's issues, which are family issues, and how our male counterparts, are intricately linked. These are interpersonal relationships, and we were talking about during the break. Tammy was giving us a staggering statistics, and I'd like her to say it on air as well, please.
Absolutely. So I got these statistics, first of all. As an academician, I have to be responsible and say where my source is. So the source is Violence Policy Center, looked at national and state statistics. So just some statistics in general. Louisiana ranks third in the nation for female victims that are murdered by males in a single victim incident. We are only third after Alaska, which is the first one, and Nevada, which is the second one. Louisiana in particular, we have 98% women that were murdered by someone that they knew. Mm-hmm. And 60% of those women were wives, current, ex, or common law, and girlfriends. The other thing that's also interesting to note here in terms of statistics, in terms of the method that was used, guns were used disproportionately in these murders. 64% of murders were committed by guns. The average age of women who were murdered was 37. And in terms of race and gender, Black females are disproportionately affected. Black females are murdered at twice the rate of white females. So we have a public health crisis.
Literally.
We have a public health crisis. And so this isn't just about, those, why do we need to know this? Because folks are losing their lives. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we have, and I want to be clear, this isn't to say that men are not, abused. I mean, I want to be clear about that. But what we know is that in terms of the prevalence of domestic violence, that it is disproportionately affecting women and more specifically Black females.
Right. And speaking of I can't speak for everyone in here, but Me Too. We had evangelist Paula Gillard say Me Too. And so...
And Me Too. I was a child. I experienced it as a child. And I think,
that's one of the things that I was saying over the break, is that children are often the forgotten victims of domestic violence. We don't realize the impact of experiencing it directly, or watching it, or seeing it directly or indirectly, that impact that has on children, both in the short term as well as in the long term.
Right. And Evangelist Paula Gillard was speaking to your own situation. You said when your son was 18, he left it. He was like, why did I stay?
It was a hard question, because when you have more than one child, we as nurturers, as mothers, we tend to want to keep that family together. We tend to, at any cost. It could be at the cost of ourselves.
It is to the cost of ourselves.
That's right. Because we're some strong women, believe it or not, but we just have to know how to impact our own lives. We know how to impact the lives of others because we're nurturers. We're born to do that. But we have to take back what is ours. And what's ours is our strength. In our weakness, we're strong in God, but he gives us the knowledge to know that it's within us that we have to reach for help. And I dare to say this, Dr. Wilborn, in African-American families, they don't usually go out and seek help. Everything is so closed in and it's so quiet, quote unquote. What goes on in this house stays in the house. We're all raised like that. And so now we're getting to the social media and all of this that's operable for us to operate in. And we're across the board, everyone's crying out for help. When I go on my social media page, I love to read the comments, because you can actually see what people are feeling between the words. They may not even come out and say it, but if you read between the lines, in other words, you can see that they're crying out for help. So what I do sometimes is inbox those individuals from a ministry standpoint to let them know that their power is within, to take back what has been taken. And it's a way that you have to do that. You have to be, you have to know, first of all, when did the bondage start? When did it start? You have to pinpoint, when did it start? You have to find out if it's something that's generational, where I saw my mom go through it, I saw my grandmother go through it, or I saw my dad do this. And what we fail to realize is that a lot of the men are abusers because they saw their mothers abused. And they figure, oh, well, my mom loved my dad, and stayed with him, so I assume it was okay. I assume that's the way you get a woman to stay with you. Well, it's not. It's not okay. And so, as I mentioned before, we tend to lose ourselves. We tend to lose ourselves in our mates. We tend to lose ourselves in our children, grandchildren, and so on and so forth. Even our job, we tend to lose ourselves. So we have to take back and come to know who we are, and that's the the right way to get started.
I know, just in my situation personally, I don't know how this sounds. It wasn't necessarily the loss of him. It was the loss of the idea of the family. Y'all are nodding your heads. It was that's my family, and even if we're not going to be together, I still want that relationship for my child. And it was difficult, and still to this day is difficult, but just like you said, I have the power, and it's not going to change until I change. And so when I change, currently, as I'm changing, the relationship will change. And so you have to just get to the point where you do it, because just like, you're not taking it anymore. I'm tired. You want something different. And does it take people to have to get to this point, or how do you see clients coming in?
I think there's a number of ways that people kind of get to this point. One way to sort of think about how folks get there is this metaphor of quicksand. And really the idea is that, oftentimes when we meet people, we're not meeting the true, authentic version of that person. Usually the mask or the representative shows up. And before that person realizes it, he or she is stuck in the quicksand.
Right.
And sinking fast, right? Because maybe you do have children. Maybe there is an investment, in the relationship. Maybe you love that person. Maybe you want to have a family. Maybe financially for you, it doesn't make sense to leave. And so now you're stuck, right? You're stuck in a situation that's hard for you to pull yourself out of. And so, understanding how people get there is not usually, most folks if they see that person and knew that person was potentially going to be a batterer, I would imagine most people wouldn't be like, yes, sign me up for that person, right?
Right, exactly.
I want to be abused. Here I am. That's usually not the case. It's usually much more insidious than that. But I want to say there's signs to kind of look at. There's things to pay attention to that I think if we can pay attention to these things as red flags.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people red flags mean stop. They don't mean go. But usually we go on a red flag.
Right.
It's concerning. But here we are. So I said this earlier. I want to say it quickly again. Things to pay attention to that a person potentially, and I'm saying person intentionally because it could be male, but it could also be female. They insist on moving too quickly into a relationship, moving fast. You know, let's get married tomorrow. I just met you yesterday. What are you talking about?
Right.
Like, how did you know?
Right.
That person can be very charming. And sometimes there could be a sense of being too good to be true. So that's the second sign. First one is moving too quickly. Second, charming. The third, they insist on stopping you from participating in either activities or spending time with family and friends. So there's a bit of isolation that occurs. The next thing to pay attention to is usually these individuals are extremely jealous and or controlling. So they might control what you wear, where you go. There might be this hyper suspicion that you're with somebody or somebody's looking at
You're
you
like,
or want you.
oh, it's cute, he cares.
Yeah, no, pay attention. Oh, why are you wearing that dress? It starts out there and then it becomes, don't wear that dress, right? The next thing to pay attention to is these individuals typically don't take responsibility for their behavior. There's a lot of blaming going on. If you would just have
Everybody
sex with me as often as I want you to,
then I wouldn't have to go cheat on you or hit you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's some criticism. We were talking about that earlier, of the person's appearance, or some put downs. You're not a good mother. You're not a good person. Nobody's ever going to want you. You ought to be lucky you're with me, kind of thing. And then the last thing is kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, this sort of dissonance. Their words don't really match their actions. Mm-hmm. So I love you, but you just hit me, right? Or I loved you, but you just hurt my child. Or I love you, so on and so forth. So there's this incongruence in what they're saying and what they're doing.
And I have another one for you to add to that list. And when they try to infiltrate people around you, mm-hmm. and change how they look, and they're nodding their heads, when they try to change how other people around you view you, mm-hmm. so that then you become isolated because everybody has their story. And then it's like, then you're alone.
Yeah. And that will fall under the category of isolation, and that's also a form of control. Abuse, at the end of the day, domestic violence is about power and control. There is nothing you can do good enough for this person to not assert power and control over you. But a lot of times what ends up happening is the individual starts to take responsibility. If I would just do this, then he or she would stop abuse. Honey, there ain't nothing you could do more of for this person to stop doing what they're doing. It's about power and control. Mm-hmm. And so recognizing the dynamics of how that plays out, in some ways, and part of the clinical work is unpacking some of that messaging about, well, I wasn't a good enough wife, or I wasn't a good enough this or that, helping those women to find their self-worth. And for some women, it is spiritual. For some women, or individuals who've experienced it, it's spiritual and it's psychotherapeutic.
Yes. Right.
But whatever it is,
I say both.
I say both.
From my experience,
absolutely.
I will say both. I know I need currently, and have needed in the past, both. So while we are on that, Dr. Wilborn, I'd love for you to tell people how they can contact you, because I know there's someone listening who this is resonating in their heart, in their spirit, in their soul. So if they need some clinical outreach, they need some counseling, how can they reach out to you?
I want to give them that, but can I also give them information on domestic violence resources?
Yes.
So there's some national hotlines. There's a national hotline, 1-800-799-7233. There's also a statewide hotline for domestic violence. Most of these services are free, confidential, open 24 hours. The state hotline is 888-411-1333. 888-411-1333. And then locally, the New Orleans Family Justice Center is also available for shelter, counseling, legal advocacy. There's also sexual assault services that they provide. There's also youth services, and then also Metropolitan Centers for Community Advocacy is also free and confidential. They provide shelter, counseling, legal advocacy. They serve Orleans, Jefferson, St. Tammany River parishes. So again, I have to say this really quick. State hotline, 888-411-1333. Locally, New Orleans Family Justice Center hotline, and then Family Services of New Orleans, Metropolitan Centers for Community Advocacy.
Thank you so much. And then Evangelist Paula Gillard, I want to thank you so much for here today. Your message and what you do and how you reach women is I'm going to give you a hug after the show. You just don't even know. So please give us your information, because we do need the counseling service. But the spiritual side for me, I know a lot of the things in my life turned around personally and a different walk with God. God was always there with me, but it's when I began a different walk with God. And so I offer that to each and every one of you. God has already offered it. I'm just kind of, amen in it. And so please let people know how they can reach out to you for your assistance to join the ministry as well.
Okay. Our phone number is 504-428-2742. And you can email us at womenofpowerpraiseandworship@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page called Women of Power, Praise, and Worship.
Oh, wow. And so when someone reaches out to you, what does the process look like?
Well, they'll initially speak to me first. And then from there, if they need psychological, we have a psychologist on staff. We have business partners as well. And we just go from there. We try to find out what's really going on with them to get to the core. We do, I usually open up my home. We have once a month a Bible ministry, which they just come in and it's like an open floor. Whatever they want to talk about, whatever the issues are, and we show them through the Word of God how they can be healed.
And again, that number is 504-428-2742. That is 504-428-2742. If this falls on your spirit and you need to share the show, it will be on Facebook as well as WBOK's page, and on Instagram for 24 hours, and it will be on our website, tglradioshow.com. So if it falls in your spirit and you need to share the show and this information, please share it. It is vitally important. No one deserves to be abused. Let's find our power. You are loved beyond imagine. God made you. You're here. Start with that. It is Relationship Tuesday. Thank you all for tuning in. This show touched me. Thank you so much. This is Eileen, y'all. We're up. Thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. I appreciate each and every one of you. I've been touched, so I'm just going to go on that. I'm out, y'all.